What's up, everybody? It's MJ, and we are here for another episode of Before the Pour, aka 20 Questions with your boy MJ. My guest today is celebrated wine expert and co-founder of Railsback Frères Winery in Santa Ynez, California. Welcome, Lyle Railsback. A little bit about Lyle. He was named by the wine enthusiasts as a top 40 under 40 tastemaker. Lyle spent 10 years working in restaurants and then 12 years as national sales for the legendary Kermit Lynch wine merchant. He studied art at George Fox University in Oregon's Willamette Valley. Go figure. It's probably before Oregon was really, it was like a couple guys growing grapes, right? Yeah, just a couple guys growing
I'm
grapes.
not that old.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh, you're not that? I'm old. I'm old, guys. Where he first fell in love with wine while cooking, waiting tables, and foraging for wild mushrooms. He is married to noted sommelier and author Victoria James, who is a partner at Cote, the celebrated New York restaurant. In 2017, that art degree kicked in as he did illustrations for Drink Pink, a celebration of rosé, written by his wife Victoria, and which they published through HarperCollins. Welcome, Lyle.
Thank you.
All right, so to warm up a bit, I'm going to start by asking you some personal questions, and they're really personal, but you have to answer them. Followed by James Lipton's famous 10 questions that he co-opted from Proust and uses on Inside the Actor Studio. So ready? So this is just like off the dome. First thing that comes to your mind. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. What is your favorite book?
Haruki Murakami, Wild Sheep Chase.
Nice. Don't know that one. Gonna have to look it up, but I just love that you knew right away.
Anything from Haruki Murakami.
Okay.
He's fantastic.
Haruki Murakami.
Yeah.
What is your favorite movie?
Young Frankenstein.
Oh, gee. Yes.
Yeah.
That's good for a young man of your age. I can't believe you're kind of old school like that.
No one watches black and white movies, right? So
No.
that was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, who is your favorite musical artist?
The Beatles.
This guy's old school. I like it. I like it. What is your favorite food or thing to eat?
Well, I think I'm looking at it. It's hard to think about something else. Probably a roasted chicken, honestly, though.
That's a good call.
Bottle of Beaujolais, or a magnum of Beaujolais and a roasted chicken.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Roasted chicken, Beaujolais, it's a great combination. I'd go with, I'm a Pinot guy. Either it's just perfect, just simple. Some Ericote Verts.
Beautiful.
Oh, my God. All right. Who's your favorite athlete?
Federer.
Nice. A lot of the wine guys are tennis guys. It's either tennis guys or basketball guys.
I thought about going older school, like Christians and Lions, but I didn't know if that's still if they've been canceled. I think.
I think so. I don't even. They must be. I have no idea. We're look that up. All right. Yeah. Okay. Who was your favorite cartoon character as a child?
Mel Blanc.
Okay. So anyone he did.
Anyone he did is
nice.
The fact that it was one guy too is pretty cool.
Yeah, you know what? Thanks for presencing. I forgot about that. Okay. What was your favorite cereal to eat while you're watching those cartoons?
I didn't have one.
Where'd you grow up?
All over over America. I was born in California.
Okay.
We grew up in Kansas, Colorado, Oregon.
They don't have cereal there, man?
We had cereal.
No muesli? No.
Nothing that highbrow. No, it was more like, Kellogg's stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Not bad at you. What is your current exercise routine?
Try to go jogging and try to play tennis. Not as rigorous as I would like.
Okay. Who is your favorite comedian?
Robin Williams.
Nice. That's a first. Nice. Classic, old school. Who would you most like to have a bottle of wine with?
I think, that's everyone said Obama, so it's like such an easy one. But
he is a hero of our times, though.
Yeah,
man.
I feel like Jacques Chirac would be interesting because he'd probably drink better wine than Obama.
Yeah.
Like go with a French president, maybe. I don't know.
That's a good call.
Yeah,
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to get into the Inside the Actor Studios questions of the Proust questionnaire. What is your favorite word?
Yes.
Ooh. What is your least favorite word?
Vestibule. is right up there. Pamphlet also really sucks.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. What besides pamphlets in the vestibule turns you off?
Polo shirts with a logo that are tucked in to pleated khakis. That's at the very top of the list.
I love it.
Yeah.
What turns you on?
Curiosity.
And you're in the right business for that, right? Let's see what these grapes are going to do this year. What sound or noise do you love?
I think stand-up bass.
What sound or noise do you hate?
The screeching subway tracks are probably there.
Okay. What is your favorite curse word?
I think that, everyone likes the word fuck, but it's almost become not a curse word anymore. You can say it any time. I think the C word, which I'm not going to say, is in American English is really like the curse word.
Yep.
In British English, like they say it no problem all the time.
Right.
But in America, it's like the worst thing you can say.
Did you hear my episode with Amanda McCrossan, Zombie Mom? Yeah,
I didn't hear
that was actually, well, you got the bonus content. That was her favorite curse word. And I said what you just said. I said, but yeah, they use, like in Britain, they use it differently than we use it here. Like it's just like what was that? Sexy Beast with Ben Kingsley and they're like, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Fuck. There you go.
Yeah.
Been saying it since I was 7. I brushed my teeth with it. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
A shoemaker.
Damn, that's a good answer. Like I can't wait to get into the full interview because you're into artisan shit, man. I dig it.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. What profession would you not like to do?
Garbage collector.
Yeah, me too.
Gynecologist.
Yeah, I've heard they say you look at. Anyway, I don't want to get gross, but looking at older women's crotches for diseases could just be a little much. Sorry.
We've been canceled again.
I know. You just edit that part out. It'll be 19 questions with Lyle. All right. And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I want him to open with a joke.
Nice.
I don't care what it is. But I think he's got to start with a joke.
He's like, a guy named Lyle walks into heaven.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, what? All right, that was really fun. Great answers, Lyle. Thank you so much. If you guys want more of Lyle, and I know you do, then tune in to our episode of the Black Wine Guy Experience. Peace out, y'all. Hey, everybody. What's up? It's MJ. Welcome to the Black Wine Guy Experience. My guest today is celebrated wine expert and co-founder of Railsback Frères Winery in Santa Ynez, California, Lyle Railsback. He was named by wine enthusiasts as a top 40 under 40 tastemaker. Lyle spent 10 years working in restaurants and then 12 years doing national sales for legendary wine merchant Kermit Lynch. He studied art at George Fox University in Oregon's Willamette Valley, where he first fell in love with wine while cooking, waiting tables, and foraging for wild mushrooms. We're going to get into what kind of mushrooms he found. He is married to noted sommelier and author Victoria James, who is a partner at Kosh, the celebrated New York restaurant. In 2017, he did illustrations for Drink Pink, a celebration of rosé, written by his wife Victoria, and which they published through HarperCollins. Welcome, Lyle. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I think you've covered it. I think we're good. That's a wrap.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. That was good.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. All right. So Lyle and I connected. Guys, I know it's cliche, again, through Instagram, but I don't know. I followed him.
It was better than Farmers Only.
Yeah.
If we had connected through Farmers Only.
Yeah, that would be scary. Yeah, wow. Farmers Only. Remember that commercial, the progression of that commercial? I was like, it was so bad. And then it got then it was like they were out in a bar. But first it was like, literally, it was like American Gothic, like, I want to date someone.
The pitchfork always seals the deal.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
All right, so Lyle, man, tell us about what we're drinking tonight and what else you've brought. What other gifts you come bearing?
Thank you. Yeah, this is an honor to be here. I wanted to bring kind of a last bottle kind of experience. There was a thing a while ago, famous winemakers were being interviewed for what their last meal would be or their last bottle would be. And Jean-Marc Rouleau from Meursault, who we worked with at Kermit Lynch, said his last meal would be a bottle of Peaufinet Vin Jaune and Comté cheese. And I think it's just a beautiful idea. It's not, it's still, I think, an industry insider kind of wine. This is a pretty new producer. This is their current release, 2012. It's Vin Jaune, of course, aged sous voile. And this guy worked with Peaufinet for 8 years. So it's like a young up-and-comer who worked with the classic, iconic guy of the region. So 24-month Comté cheese to go with it. Shouldn't suck.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to suck. So tell a little bit more about the wine, because we do have, I have listeners who are winemakers. I have listeners all levels, so a lot of them might not know about the Vin Jaune. So just break it down for them a little bit.
Yeah, this is from the Jura region of France, which is just east of Burgundy, between Burgundy and Switzerland. It's probably the most bucolic rolling hills. There's more cows than people in the Jura, seriously. And the wines that are made here are pretty old style. The legend was that when the men went away to the wars, no one topped up the barrels. And so this layer of mold or veil that formed on top of the wine, sort of giving it this almost sherry-like quality. And that veil eats the sugars. So this like sherry, it's the driest wine possible. There's 0.0 sugar. But you get this really interesting crazy aromas and flavors. Someone said mezcal was a flavor you got out of this wine. The grape is Savagnin, which is the white grape of the region, super high in acid. When you take a sip of this, you're just like salivating instantly. So the cheese seemed like a good move.
Nice. And I dig the bottle, and I also dig I hate fit vine. I call it shit vine. Like that whole marketing behind it. Like there's no sugar in it. I'm like, well, most wine does. But this, now we're talking a real quality wine. Like if someone like, I don't want sugar in my wine, then you need to get some Vin Jaune, my man. Okay.
Yeah. It has 14% alcohol, which your body metabolizes into sugar later, but that's a whole nother.
I mean, everything turns into sugar at the end of the day. That's the whole joke of it, right? You eat a steak, it has to turn to sugar, man. Like protein, But yeah, 14. Come on, man. I drink so much Paso wine. I'm like, if it's not. I'm like, if it's not 15,
it's a breakfast wine.
Yeah. No, I don't have any issues as long as the wine's good. I don't. If a wine's too hot, it's too hot. But like, I love a refreshing, crisp, 11.5 or sometimes. A quaffer, a porch pounder, if you will.
Yeah.
All right. Oh my God, we have so much to cover today. But I always like to give people like a little backstory. So, we read a little about your bio. When we were just meeting, you were saying you kind of grew up all over the country, So I kind of think of like, where'd you go to high school? Because that's like kind of really like that's where you go through the shit. You got puberty, you got pimples. Were you in the same place for 4 years? Like, where did you kind of land when you were like going to high school?
Yeah, I went to 3 high schools. We moved around a lot growing up. I was born in California. We moved to Oregon. My brother was born there. Back to California, where my sister was born. And then I went to high school in Colorado and 2 different towns in Kansas. When you're in high school in Kansas, you have to really be creative and find your own fun. So, then I left and went to Oregon for college and sort of still floated around since then.
Okay. So you were like dust in the wind.
Yeah. Chasing Tornadoes, Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt.
Yeah, that was the one recently. That was an interesting movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been to Kansas before. So, I could see you having to really work to be in high school and be in Kansas, especially if you grew up, if you came from out west, it'd be a way different place,
Very, yeah.
All right. So you went out to Oregon. You went to George Fox University in Willamette Valley, and that's where you got into wine. How'd you get into wine?
I got into cooking. I got into food first. I went to college for acting and drama, and when I got to college, the professor that had been leading the program had left, and so I decided to study art instead. I studied painting and Japanese wood-fired pottery, But I was obsessed with food. I was constantly reading anything I could about food and cooking, and I worked in the college cafeteria and in catering outfits and wanted to be a chef. And then went on a trip to Europe, came back, tried to get a job as a line cook, and was told, this is in the Willamette Valley, I was told they filled the position, but we need a sommelier. And I said, well, I'm 20, I can't legally drink, and I don't know anything about wine other than that I like it. And they said, well, that's okay. You can start tomorrow. And so I got a job in Oregon wine country and learned about Oregon Pinot first and a little bit about German Riesling. The chef's wife was German, so. Yeah.
Okay. So that's, oh my God, I love these stories. We don't have a line cook position, but you want to be our som? Yeah, I can't really drink, and I don't know shit about wine. I'll take it. Okay, so so that's really cool. So like, what year was this? I'm just curious.
This was 1998.
Okay.
90, maybe 97.
Okay. So there had been. So break down some of the history of Oregon wine, because I know there's some older producers like Erie, but it's not. Oregon then was not what it is known to be now. You know what I mean? Like it was just up and coming. Now it's like, and the buzz was always like, it's American Burgundy. I remember I used to like some Ken Wright stuff. I'm trying because that's when I was working in New York. Yeah. But it wasn't a whole lot. It wasn't like the Mecca. Yeah. At least outside of Oregon.
Yeah. I feel like at the time when I was, Ken Wright had like just started his own label in like the mid-90s, early to mid-90s. He had left where he was making wine previously, started his own thing, and it was like the coolest thing when I first discovered what that was. And all the old guys like David Lett from Irie and Erath and the old guard, people who were there in the 70s and 80s, they're still around, and they would come into our restaurants frequently and bring great wines. And I learned to really like the winemakers who would bring in and not just drink their own wines, because you still see that in this industry, people who are like, I want to drink my own wine. And then you have other guys like Eric Lemelson was like an early reference point for me. He would bring in Kosh, Corton Charlemagne, and crazy stuff that I had no idea what it was, and he would share it graciously with us, and that was eye opening.
Nice. Mm. So yeah, I mean back then it was like King Estate was huge out of Oregon, right?
Yes.
King Estate Pinot Gris.
Yeah.
So like, is that like the Budweiser of Oregon?
It's not as sparkling as Budweiser. I like the carbonation in Budweiser myself, but that's.
This cheese is banging.
Oh, good.
Oh my God. Thank you for the 24-month-old cheese.
Why? This is pre-COVID cheese. 24 months ago, we had never heard of COVID. It's the best.
All right, so what was the name of this place you worked at? And you probably said it, but like the Jura is going to my head.
The Jura, yeah. I wish I worked in the Jura. No, it was called the Joel Palmer House. Okay. And then later, and so the chef was from Pennsylvania. He grew up, he was Polish. He grew up mushroom hunting. So he would take me on hunts, and we would go to golf courses and find huge porcini mushrooms. We would go truffle hunting with pitchforks and like rake the bottom of Douglas fir trees and get white and black truffles. And we found a lot of chanterelles. Matsutake were my favorite to find. I got super into that. No psilocybin, if that's what you were going to ask.
Yeah, of course, man. Come on, man. I mean, most,
I did try those in college, but it didn't work out for me, so I went back to chanterelles after that.
You should, as you should. I mean, you should try things in college, kids. So you're there. How long were you at that first place?
I think 4 or 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Through the end of college, and then after college, I worked there a little bit. And then I went to San Francisco, got a job in a French restaurant, and I had a manager. I was, I'd come from Oregon, so I'm preaching the gospel about Oregon Pinot. People would try to order Burgundy, and I would say, no, try this Christum Pinot Noir instead. And so my manager saw me doing this, and he was like, all right, let's start blind tasting. And so he would bring me 2 wines and decanters at the end of the night, and I very quickly learned, okay, wow, the world is a lot deeper, and there's just infinite possibilities with the old world. Yeah. So I got into that, moved back to Oregon, worked in wine country, but also in Portland at a restaurant I was at for 4 years called Paley's Place. It's a James Beard award-winning chef, and we we had a list of French wines. I was the sommelier and then eventually the wine buyer there. And then also like half Oregon, half French wines, basically.
Okay. So you were like guy off the street to being the somm in the restaurant. Did you ever pursue, have you go the certification route?
No. For both cooking and for wine, when I got into cooking, I worked with a guy who had worked with Wolfgang Puck at Spago. And he told me, I was really considering cooking school. I had a friend who was at the CIA. And this guy told me, there are people who pay to go learn how to cook and they have a piece of paper. And we don't hire them. And then there are people who go and they get a job and they learn how to cook. Yeah. And we hire those people. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, easy decision. I'm just going to cook. And then later when I got into wine, being in the Willamette Valley, I hadn't even heard of the Court of Master Sommeliers until years later. It wasn't talked about like it is today.
Right.
It was kind of a job, like a trade, like anything.
Yeah.
So I, just on the job training, and I worked. I think a lot of my learning came from. I worked for 3 years at a wine shop called E&R Wine Shop in Portland, and I was doing that simultaneously to restaurants. And the owners of the shop, it was one of the best wine shops in America, and the owner was good friends with Jean-Louis Chauve. He was friends with Roberto Quintarella. The people from Krug would come, and we would do tastings back to 1959. So as a young kid out of college, I used to taste a ton of stuff that I wouldn't have otherwise. Ed Palladino is his name. He's a great guy and showed me a lot.
Shout out to Big Ed Palladino. It's interesting because when I was first started in the business in 97, started Acker, I had a similar experience. I just got to taste great wines every freaking night. And I did hear about, the Master Sommelier thing, but, I talked to, John's uncle. He's like, well, you don't really need it. Like it wasn't like you didn't need it back then. Like, and I think Robert Bohr was on here and he was saying how, in the 90s, there was like 4 somms and they were like all French, you know what I mean? Like in New York City, like it wasn't this thing. Yeah. And like, I like what you said because my day job used to be in education, and I, in anything, people need to understand that there's going to be work that has to be put in, a lot of hard work, and these are skills, and you don't get your skills by reading them and taking tests necessarily, you know what I mean? So I really applaud that on the job training and just diving in and putting in the work. So good on you, it seems like it's working out for you.
It's been fun.
All right, so you're Oregon, you're in San Francisco, and then you went back to Oregon.
And then I moved to Washington, D.C. for a girl.
Nice.
That's where it all takes a left turn.
Okay, it always is about a girl.
It's always about a girl, like you were saying about Santa Barbara, even if it wasn't true. No, I met a girl. I was officiating a wedding, and this girl was the maid of honor. So it's just classic romantic comedy shit.
I was like bridesmaid, man.
Yeah. So you fall in love with the bridesmaid, and then you call Bruce Nyers, who you know, and you say, Bruce, I'm moving to D.C. for a girl. I don't think I want to work in restaurants anymore. What should I do? And Bruce said, go work with Winebow. So I got a job on the street as a sales rep, selling wine on the streets of D.C. I did that for 2 years, figured it out, and then Bruce created a job for me at Kermit Lynch. Bruce was the national sales manager for Kermit for 25 years and really made it what it is today. And I worked with Bruce for 9 years at Kermit, and then he retired, and another 3 years later, and now I finally bounced, and I'm free. And
well, we'll get to that. We got to unpack. We got to unpack the Kermit Lynch stuff, man, because he's a fucking icon. Like,
absolutely.
I remember just like that was like Michael Capon, John's dad. I remember he kind of just put me on to like. There's certain importers, it's going to be good. Like Rosenthal, it's going to be good. Skurnik, it's going to be good. Kermit Lynch, it's going to be great. Like whether it's $9 or $900, you can trust the wines in these people's books. So, you're in D.C. You're working for Winebow, and you're on the street, and then you go to work for Kermit Lynch Wine Merchant. So where were you working for them? Were you out east? Where did you go back west? Where were you doing that work for them?
Yeah, I skipped a step there. I moved back to
Oregon. You did. Right?
I moved back to Oregon and to start a company with a friend of mine. We were going to be importing some of our own wines we'd found in Europe, and we were going to represent Kermit and Vias for Oregon. And 2 months later, after I'd moved back to do this, was 2008. The market crashed. So all of our investors called us and said, "Hey, I just lost my life savings. Guess what? Can't fund your project." So we had to call Bruce and say, "Bruce, we can't do this. We've got wine on the water that we need to pay for. So let's figure it out." We figured it out, and Bruce said, "Lyle, what are you doing? Call me tomorrow on Sunday." So I called Bruce on Sunday, and he said, "You need to fly down to Berkeley, meet Kermit, and come work for us." I said, "Wow, opportunity of a lifetime." So I flew. I had an interview at Chez Panisse. Kermit and I drank 2 bottles of wine at lunch, and
what'd you drink?
I got given the job of my life. We started with a glass of Tempier Rosé, which Alice pours by the glass year-round. It's her favorite wine on the planet, and of course, when you go to Chez Panisse, you have to start with that. And then we had an 85 La Migua from Tempier off there that Kermit had brought from his cellar. And it was spectacular. And then we ordered something else just to try it off the list that I honestly don't remember. But I was too awestruck, meeting your heroes and this whole thing. It was exciting.
Yeah, awestruck. Yeah. I'm gonna be awestruck after 2 bottles of wine myself too.
That's what they're going. "Sorry, officer, I was awestruck."
Yeah, no, I'm not drinking and driving. I'm awestruck. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, lunch with Kermit Lynch, and so you go to work for them, and what was like your first day at Kermit Lynch? Wine.
Well, the market had crashed, so distributors around the country, the euro was at 1.65. So this whole tariff thing that we're in now, which is obviously terrible, and we all hate it, and we hope that, knock on wood, with Biden, it'll go away. Wasn't even as bad as the euro being at 1.65. So, Muscadet that used to be $9 was now $14, and it just changed the metrics for everybody. And distributors around the U.S. had stocks of wine that they couldn't sell, that were too expensive, and it was just like closeout central. And every distributor didn't want to talk to you or didn't want to see you. And I'm like the new kid on the block, thinking, "Oh, I've got this business card that says Kermit. Like, oh my gosh, every door is going to open for me." And it was the opposite. People were saying, "Oh, great, congratulations. We don't need to see you. You can stay home." And so you have to get out there and pound the pavement just like everybody else. And I started as the Northwest sales manager, so I was doing Oregon, Washington, Idaho. It eventually expanded, and I kept picking up other states. Kermit asked me after a few years to move down to the Bay Area and sort of be in line to sort of take over for Bruce. And so I moved to St. Helena and lived. Bruce was based in St. Helena because he has his winery.
He's Nyers, right?
Nyers Vineyards, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Legend.
Yep.
So I did that, and I was there less than a year. And every week I was driving 2 hours to SFO to fly somewhere different. And I eventually just said, it's gorgeous here, but I'm just driving to the airport every day.
Right.
Why don't I live in New York, our biggest market, and I can travel from there. I'll be closer to Europe and the whole thing. So I moved in 2014. I moved to New York. To be based here for Kermit. We opened a small office. I added a couple other employees here, and continued to travel and do the thing. And then in 2015, my brother Eric, and I started our own wine label.
Hold on, we'll get to that. No, it's good. No, it's okay. It's okay. Relax, theater major. So, this is an iconic book. Let's talk about. We'll get into Lulu later because I know that is like the inspiration for one of your wines. But Giuseppe Quintarella, Kermit found Kosh, didn't he? It was like this little not known Burgundy, and now it's like the fucking you can't get it. Not even at auction. You got to be rich.
The crazy thing is the whole thing's upside down. Kermit didn't just find Kosh. Kermit struggled to sell Kosh. He said Kermit, this is before he had a national sales manager, Kermit would fly to New York and visit top sommeliers, back when there were 3 French sommeliers, and visit top buyers in New York City. And they would all say to him, "Oh, Kermit, you don't understand this Merceau. I have Merceau for half the price. Why would I want?" And this is back when Kosh was $20, $30.
I know. It wasn't even fucking expensive, man.
The whole thing has changed. And even in the short time I've been involved, when I started for Kermit in 2008, we were selling the last vintage of Versailles Cornas. It was $30 a bottle, 2006 vintage. Now, if you find Versailles, it doesn't exist anymore, but if you find it on auction, it's $700 a bottle or more. But this last vintage that I was selling, distributors would say, you don't understand. It's impossible to sell Cornas. It's expensive. I have Côte d'Aron for $10. Why, I can't sell that. And it's about your mindset. And I think this is the thing I've really learned the most from Kermit is mindset. Mm-hmm. When people think, oh, these Corsican wines are expensive, compared to what?
Right.
You've got people in Napa Valley selling $100 Chardonnay. Why is a $40 Corsican Vermentino expensive? It's mindset. And Kermit, the whole thing for Kermit was about what's in the glass, always. And, Kermit really learned about wine from Richard Olney. There wouldn't be a Kermit Lynch wine merchant if it weren't for Richard Olney. Richard wrote the book on Domaine de la Romanée-Conti, DRC. He wrote the book on Chateau Yquem. And he would buy Beaujolais by the barrel. He would keep a barrel of Beaujolais in his cellar and take a pitcher downstairs and fill it up from cool Beaujolais from the jug to serve at dinner. And the whole thing for Kermit was appreciating every wine for its type and for its place.
Yeah.
So there's this problem in America with wine that we view the price tag as a sort of rating. Yeah. And people think, oh, it's expensive, it must be better.
Right.
And the thing you learn very quickly in France is the country wines. I worked a harvest in Meursault at Carillon, they're drinking Aligoté. They're drinking the simple table wines and appreciating them in the same way that you would a Premier Cru Meursault, because these wines have a time and place. And I think Kermit really was one of the first importers in America to, champion the Languedoc, champion Provence. We all know Tempier now.
Right.
For years, decades, Kermit had to beg people to buy the stuff, and it was $2 a bottle retail. Yeah. So it's, lots changed, but I think the perspective of looking where no one else is looking, and then, trusting your palate.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, wow. I love those stories. Like when I had John Cape on, I was saying how his father used to have to give away DRC in the 70s and gift because there was no demand for these wines, and the Kosh, like you said, that's crazy. Like, yeah. I haven't had Kosh yet.
Oh, sorry, I didn't have one to bring.
That's right. You're a friend of the show. You'll be back.
Good. Noted.
And this is my wanky me. Quintarella. Oh my God. What's the best Quintarella you've had? Like.
That's I don't know how to answer that. I think tasting at Quintarella is a weird experience.
See, the motherfucker, he got to taste there. I had a bottle of Cab Franc once.
That's pretty serious wine.
It was a serious wine. Yeah. But talk about because he holds his wines back a while, doesn't he, before he releases them?
Yeah. They'll hold on to Amarone Reserva for 10 years before releasing. It's a serious aging. Even the Valpolicella, I think, is 4, 5, 6, 7 years until they. It depends on the year and the nature of the vintage, but. For me, personally, just the Valpolicella and the Rosso Cade Merlot, I like those wines from him, and I think they're a very decent price. And when the Amarone, of course, it's special. The Recioto is really amazing, but there are so many occasions and times you can have a $500 bottle of Recioto, so you have to proceed with caution.
All right, so you know what? I'm going to take a quick break here. At that point, because we're going to move into what you did after, some of the exciting things about, Railsback and Frères and what happened after you left Kermit Lynch. So hang in there. We'll be right back, guys. Okay, we're back. All right, so let's talk about Railsback Frères Winery. You're partners with your brother, Eric, and I read that it started out as a rosé project. Tell me more about that.
It's all true. My brother started a winery previously to Railsback Frères called Ludi.
Yes, I've seen it. He has a melon.
He has melon. He has Sauvignon Blanc, mostly Sauvignon Blanc. Yep. They do Cabernet Franc. The whole idea was paying homage to their favorite Loire Valley wines. Eric opened RN74 with Raj Par, and at this time when you get to taste amazing, crazy Burgundies, the wines that any of us can afford to drink are the $20 Loire, Bourgogne, and Chinon. So Eric really fell in love with those kind of wines just as like everyday crushers. And so he also, at the time at RN74 Open, they were tasting like old Napa wines from the 50s and 60s. And a lot of these wines had like 12.5 alcohol.
Yep.
And they taste like European wines.
Right.
And the whole like Judgment of Paris thing.
Right.
The wines were very different back then.
Right.
Eric got to know a lot of vineyards in Santa Barbara and started making Sauvignon Blanc as just a little, originally it was just like a private thing they were making for RN74. It got pretty big and interesting. And Eric and I would travel around the country and we would do like side-by-side brother tastings where he would pour Ludi and I would pour a Kermit equivalent. So we're doing like his Melon next to Muscadet from Brégion, his Sauvignon Blanc next to one of our Sancerre producers. And people in the room, sommeliers, are getting the wines confused. And it was so cool to see. Here's my kid brother. He's created this thing in Santa Barbara, and the wines are 12.5. They're balanced. They're fresh. They have good minerality. And it's the new world. There are no rules. So Eric came to me a few years later, 2015, actually in the end of 14, and he said, you know, there's really good Mourvedre and Carignan and Grenache here. Like, what if we make a tribute to Lulu and do rosé? I'm thinking, great. I'd never had any aspirations to make my own wine, but seeing what you've done with Ludi, it's amazing, and that sounds great. Let's do it. So we bought a few tons of grapes. The Mourvedre we found was a little too expensive to use in a rosé, so we did a red Mourvedre, whole cluster, partial carbonic style, and then we did Carignan and Grenache Sanso for rosé. We call it Les Rascas, which is the scorpion fish, which is Lulu, who passed away sadly this last year at 102.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, God bless her, but she got a century in, bro.
Yeah, a couple people like reached out saying, "Oh my gosh, what a tragedy!" She was 102.
Yeah.
No one was surprised. I mean, of course, legend.
You don't want anybody to pass, but damn, man, you know, I mean, like
if we can,
yeah.
102, and until the end. You know, I saw her a year before. The last time I was in France, January of 2020. Lulu was there telling dirty jokes in her thick Provençal accent. Just an incredible force, incredible person, and she made wine about people. She made wine about more than just what was in the bottle. And you know, super inspirational. Every time we would see her, you know, a tear would come to your eye. And here's this little 4'3" woman who just lights up a room. Really incredible. And so yeah, and obviously rosé. Tempier is the reference point. That's the rosé that changed everything for Americans drinking rosé. And
well, the Americans with discriminating palates.
But I think it's. I mean, of course, there's still rosé.
I mean, there's some
industrial rosé.
I agree. I mean, but like, you know, I got a part-time gig working in a Whole Foods, which is a supermarket. Selling wine in a supermarket is very funny and very different on the East Coast than California. But like, literally, like, you know, I'm always steering people towards Provence for rosé. I'm like, look, you're gonna spend $15. This is better than. I'm not gonna say the name that I always make fun of, but you know, I'm like, it's better than this. You know, like this is real rosé. I think that's the one, and that wine is ageable. Like people don't get like that. That rosé is
totally,
Like, what's the oldest? Have you had? Obviously, what what's some of the oldest vintages you've had of Tempier?
I mean, I've had some older rosés with 20 and 30 years on them. I think at that point they just are a curiosity and they're interesting.
Sure,
they'll bring them out at the end of the meal with cheese.
Right.
But I think with 10 years, no problem. Like Tempier with 10 years, you lose some of the fruit, you lose the baby fat, and you get more of the salinity. You get the taste of the place, the salty air of Bandol. But yeah, amazing. And really for Kermit, you know, if you get Kermit in the room, he'll bring up the subject of malolactic in white wine or malolactic in rosé 3 times. That's kind of like what he wants to talk about. And he likes to joke that he'll be remembered as the anti-filtration guy. You know, no fining, no filtering. He was certainly one of the first importers to request that of producers. But really, this idea of going back to making wine in wood, old wood, and allowing a malolactic was something that when Kermit got into wine in the 60s, early 70s, it was the first time in history where scientists were taking over wineries and stainless steel was first introduced. And Kermit would go into old cellars, whether it's in Sancerre or wherever, and all of the old barrels that had these magical wines that went through full malo in a slow way, the next year, the barrels were gone, shiny stainless tanks were there, and they were blocking the mallow, and the wine was lifeless. And there's this thing with white wine. People were told by enologists, if you block the mallow, you preserve acidity, and it's fresher, and the wine tastes fresher, and it's better. In fact, the opposite is true. And if you block the mallow, you have malic acid, but you don't have this lactic acid. The wines don't age as well, and they don't go down as easy. So that was the thing for rosé with Tempier, and that's for Eric and I. We took the same approach. So our rosé still is made in neutral Burgundy barrels, so there's no taste of wood, but they have an exchange of oxygen flow, and then we allow mallow naturally. So everything's native yeast fermentation. We don't inoculate. Our wines are made at Presqu'île Winery, so they have an amazing facility. Everything's native yeast. There's no inoculations, so it's very safe. And by letting it go slowly through mallow, it takes like 6 months or so. You have this round, creamy fleshiness, and then we're harvesting early, so we pick at 22 bricks, so you still have good freshness and good acidity. And yeah.
So whose homage to Lulu's better, yours or Bedrock Morgan's just straight up ode to Lulu?
I like the name of theirs, and I wasn't aware of that when we came out with Roscas, but no, it's good. It's
good. I like your name better than Roscas.
Roscas has a nice ring.
It does, man.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm like, oh baby, I got some Roscas.
So Lulu, I got sidetracked, but the Roscas, Lulu insists that to make the classic bouillabaisse, the fish soup of Provence, you have to use Roscas, which is the scorpion fish. And I like this idea because it's something that we don't have here. So she's basically saying, well, you can't make it in America.
Yeah, she's like, you do not have bouillabaisse in America.
Sorry, we may have it in the sea, but
there's
no market for it. Yeah. So the Roscas, the other thing is it's kind of like a trash fish, where the fishmonger eats it. So it was kind of thrown away. And I like that because also in Santa Ynez, most people are growing Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and that's what the market is for. And the wines are twice as expensive. And for us, it was like, okay, here are these great vineyards. We can come and like, oh, these people are practically giving away Grenache and Sanso and Carignan that no one wants to work with it. So great. We'll buy the leftovers and we'll make it into something delicious.
Nice. So, so you mentioned that you had bought some Mourvèdre for that wine, but it was too expensive to put into the rosé. Where'd you source that from?
We work now with like 5 different vineyard partners, but the Mourvèdre initially was coming from Bien Nacido.
That's what my mind went to Bien Nacido when I think of expensive fruit. And, I mean, well deserved. I mean, we're not talking crazy Napa, Beckstoffer, just I know how to run the prices, but like literally
Tocalan.
Yeah, literally, and just for it is a place, it's not a brand. But
we still work with Bien Nacido,
yeah,
and they're amazing. It's seriously one of the best vineyards there. We buy Syrah from their Z block, the steepest part of Bien Nacido. But I think especially in America, there's this price ceiling for rosé. People don't want to buy they already have that with Bandol. It's like, $50 rosé. It's like, well, okay, you'll drink a $50 white wine or a red wine, but it's, anyways, it's neither here nor there. We just decided rather than trying to sell a $30 California rosé, let's make a red wine. And in doing so, it was an amazing accident where the carbonic process with Mourvèdre was like really inspired by another Kermit producer named Maxime Magnon, who trained with Salos in Champagne.
Okay.
He worked with the Gang of Four in Beaujolais, spent time with Thierry Allemande in Cornas.
Tell some of my other people who the Gang of Four are in Beaujolais. Just
legends.
Like my producer.
Yeah.
She's like, who's this fucking Gang of Four, man? Slow down. I want to learn about wine, MJ. Yeah, no, but
sorry, dropping lots of names here.
No, it's all good. I mean, I'm fine, but like I'm doing my job as a whole. I'm like, let's unpack that.
The Gang of Four. It was coined by Kermit. Kermit fell in love with Beaujolais, of course, early days, and then in the 90s, Beaujolais really changed as a region, and what had become a pretty industrial place with a lot of machine harvesting, wine being made with chemical yeast, chaptalizing with lots of sugar, heating up, pasteurizing the wine, sterile filtering the wine, everything you could do to make Coca-Cola. And Beaujolais got this terrible name. And during the same time, in Kermit's book, he talks about Jules Chauvet, who kind of started natural wine, which is of course become bastardized now. But that's episode 2.
Yeah.
when I bring the Kosh, we can talk about that.
Cool, because we do need to get into that on a deeper level.
Yeah. So this guy, Jules Chauvet, this young guy, worked with him named Marcel Lapierre. who passed away soon after I came to work for Kermit. And Marcel was like a sort of missionary zeal, and he turned other guys in the region onto farming without chemicals, making wine with nothing other than grapes was the intent. Not a rule, not dogma, but the intent. And so Kermit found himself one day with 4 Morgon producers at a time when you couldn't even sell one Morgon producer in America. And he says, geez, I've got 4 producers. These guys are kind of rebels of the region. And there was this 70s rock group called the Gang of 4, which was named after a Chinese dissident party. So the whole thing has got lots of layers. But anyways, Lapierre, Foillard, Thévenet, Breton, the Gang of 4, absolute rock stars. They changed the world for Beaujolais. And Maxime Magnon, going back full circle to this guy who is making wine in Corbière in the south of France, he spent time with them, and he went to the south of France and is making Carignan and other Southern Rhone Reds with whole cluster, partial carbonic, and it just brings out the freshness, elevates the fruit, makes them crushable.
Wow. That Corbière, there's a $13 Corbière, and I don't know who makes that out of Kermit's book. It's sick.
Oh, Domaine de Fontaine.
Yeah, that's it. Oh my God. It's just one of those.
Legit. That was the first Kermit wine I ever had. That black label.
Yeah, the black.
Yeah. Dude, that wine's serious.
That is some serious. It is. It really is. And so, and then like I know that like you said, Beaujolais has had this renaissance, and it's Cru Beaujolais. What's like do you have like a favorite cru in Beaujolais?
No.
He's like, no, I love it all.
It's it's really about more producers. I mean, there's certainly they taste different. The sense of place is real. If you taste Moulin au Vent, it's a very different experience than a Chirouble or a Fleury. But I think there's more great producers in Morgon, maybe just because it's bigger and more historically great wine being made there. But I think there's also good Beaujolais that's non-cru. I think people talk about the crus, which is important, but there's also producers in the south, which is closer to Lyon. They have golden limestone down there and amazing stuff as well.
Cool. So you guys, you come from this very old world place, like you said. You and your brother were doing the tastings, the blind tastings, and you were just fucking Psalms up like, they couldn't figure it out. The wines are very harmonious and balanced. So what other wines are in your portfolio right now?
So we're still making rosé. We do carbonic Carignan now instead of Mourvedre. We liked just what that gives. It's really what Maxime Magnon's doing. We're doing Bien Nacidos, a sans soufre Syrah, a Syrah with no sulfur, which is Bien Nacido Z Block, completely zero sulfur. We've done some Grenache. We've really gotten serious about Vermentino. We use the Corsican name for it. Vermentino, of course, roll in French. But in Corsica, working for Kermit, I fell in love with Corsica. I've been there several times. Kermit's obsessed. Kermit has 9 producers on the island. And Corsica, people, think, oh, what's this little island in the Mediterranean, whatever. But when you go there and see what's being done, the level of growers like Abatucci, Canarelli, Antoine Arena, these guys they're making Vermentino like it's Burgundy. They're making it like white Burgundy, and it's a whole nother level. And so that really turned us on and got us excited. And we found some Vermentino in Santa Ynez, and we're like, oh, no way, let's just try it. So we bought a little bit. We did it in cement eggs to turn the lees and give it that sort of texture that you want, but also, again, picked early, so it was zippy and fresh. And then just bottled it with no filtration, just a rough, or no fining, just a rough filtration for solids. And the first result was like, wow, I can't believe this. This is like Vermentino from California. Who even knew it existed? And wow, it's delicious. So then the next year we expanded. We found a second vineyard on pure sand. It looks like a beach called Brick Barn. And then this year, we just barrel tasted the first samples of 2020. We have 3 vineyards of Vermentino, which, again, we call Vermentino with a U. And we're going to do single vineyard, site-specific bottlings, Vermentino on sand, Vermentino on limestone, and Vermentino on marine sedimentary loam. And it's like crazy to see, okay, here's one little place in Santa Barbara County, and here's 3 different expressions of what Vermentino can do. So we're going further down this path.
So you're going like a little Vermentino 3-card Monty. So they mix the bottles
Mix
around.
the bottles, exactly.
You know, they're like, that's limestone. No, you're wrong. You got to pay $50. You got to pay double. No, that's really cool. It seems that you are definitely influenced by, terroir. You were in Willamette Valley, and then you went to work for Kermit Lynch, and your wines are like driven by a sense of place. Safe to say, driven by a sense of place.
That's very much what we want to do, but with a nod towards the old world. So obviously, the project we call Frères because we're Francophiles.
Right.
We certainly don't come from that, but we come from California. But definitely, we're paying homage to wines that are meant to go at the table with food, that are lower alcohol, that are more digestible. You can drink a second bottle if it's 12.5. So we're trying to do that.
I can drink a single bottle anytime. Speak for yourself, but but no, I really like. I was kind of hoping. I was like, oh, Railsback Frères. I was like, what if? Oh, is their dad Steve Railsback, the action actor from the 70s and 80s? But guess not.
Not closely related. We're actually more closely related to Mickey Mantle, and I'm sorry I didn't say that as my favorite.
Oh, come on, man! Your favorite athlete.
Favorite athlete, yeah.
Well, I could see why he wouldn't necessarily you didn't know him, and then from understanding, he wasn't really that super of a guy. Not to dish your family, man.
No, I've heard.
But
I've heard stories.
Yeah, but
Grandma Roxy told us lots of stories.
Wow, that's really cool. Wow, that's interesting. So let's talk to me about. There's so much wine history you must have. I always what's a memorable. Well, why Santa Barbara? That's what I wanted. Why Santa Barbara? Because I lived in Santa Barbara for 10 years, and I moved there in 1999.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting that now Raj is there. So many people are making wine there.
Yeah.
And it still seems underrated. Still, I don't get it. Why? How'd you guys Santa Barbara?
I'll tell you once we turn the podcast off. I don't want too many people to know.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. It's an amazing place. It's a transverse valley. It's one of the few transverse valleys in North America. So you get these breezes that come off of the Pacific Ocean, and they cool everything down. So you think Southern California, it's going to be a warmer climate. Couldn't be more opposite to Paso. And we're in the Santa Ynez, so it's 45 minutes up in the mountains from Santa Barbara.
Over the pass.
Gorgeous, but tucked up in there, and so things are cooler. We can get enough hang time and still make wines with 12.5 alcohol.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I just have seen so much press about Santa Barbara. I'm like, I live there. It's great. It's incredible. And like you said, Genesito, oh my God, to score fruit out of there is,
we got lucky.
Yeah.
So someone has to either die or give up the parcel, and
yeah.
No one died, but we.
Well, we'll talk about that after the mics go off. But, no, just kidding. So where was your brother at? Was your brother based in Southern California, or was he
Yeah.
And
after
he was like, yo, come to Santa Barbara.
Yeah, he left RN74. He opened up a wine bar, retail restaurant space in Santa Barbara called Les Marchands. Ran that for a few years, and then it morphed into something else, called Maddie's Tavern. And then he's really left and focused on. He started Verve with Dustin Wilson, so he's he's a very much an entrepreneur, and he's got always a dozen different. Whenever I talk to him, he's like, "Oh, we're gonna do this project in Oregon. We're gonna do this," and he's got a ton of ideas. It's amazing. He really thinks in a different way than I do. But yeah, he lived in Santa Barbara for quite a while, Los Olivos, and just fell in love with the place and the access to really amazing fruit there. So that's the draw. I go out there occasionally, of course, for the winery, but I've never lived there.
Mm-hmm. So you say your brother. I always like to find out I don't know if I've done this on a podcast, but in life I like to find out. So you said I know Robert came from a hardworking family, and Was one of your parents entrepreneurial? Where do you think your brother picked it up from? Because
yeah, our great grandfather was actually an early California grape grower, early wine grower, back in the day, and then there were two generations of religious upbringing that said wine is evil, and So our grandfather stopped growing wine grapes. He converted to fruit farming and then raising pigs and all this. We come from farming families. We grew up with a lot of like fresh persimmons and Asian pears and like, good fruit off the farm is like really one of the great pleasures. To talk about wine being delicious, but really like a summer, pear and it's right off the tree is really where it's at. So then, our parents were in education. My dad taught in colleges, still does.
Okay.
And we've found our way back to wine.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. See, you gotta coax this out of people. He's like, well, actually, my great-grandfather used to grow grapes back in the day. That's really cool. And then also, I think it's like it's not. I mean, obviously, you're a team, but it's so funny. It kind of sounded like you said he's like a driving force. Like he's just got. Some people just have that, right? Just like, I got an idea. Let's do this. Let's do that. Do that. Like,
yeah.
Like. What's the age difference between you two?
We're 5 years apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you a good big brother?
Well, don't ever ask him about the Lego separator incident or the time I made him take a shit in the front yard. But other than that, I was perfect. MJ, thanks for asking.
It's just because I had an older sister and she was 3 years older, and
yeah,
I mean she was, well I was a annoying little brother.
Oh,
yeah, I was an annoying little brother.
Yeah.
Well, I knew how to work her and work my parents, but
nice.
but like she would scratch me.
Are you guys still close now?
She passed last year.
I'm sorry.
But we got closer. The older we got, obviously we got closer. But once we got through 9 to 12 or whatever it was, we got close. But yeah,
nice.
So it's just kind of funny dynamics. What about your other siblings? Anybody else in wine or restaurants?
We have a sister.
Yeah.
Our sister is amazing. She lives in Chicago. We've gotten her kind of involved in the wine project as well. Our Vermentino we call Railsback Sur.
Okay.
Sister
Railsback,
yeah. The label somewhere. It was kind of a joke when we first started making a white wine. We were just like joking about what to call it, and we're thinking instead of Frères, there's a thing in America where like red wine is manly and white wine is for women, and so we were joking like, oh, we could call the white wine Railsback Sur because it's like a sister wine. And then we did it, and it's just we left it because it's cool. So that's cool. Our sister, and she's helping like with some of the label design we're doing, and she's a graphic designer and filmmaker. She's done 2 documentaries on the wine, one on Georgian wine. She's now working on one about Japanese fermented beverages.
Oh wow! I gotta check out that Georgian wine. Our last guest was talking. He was alluding. He had been to Georgia. He said, and. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Some of the oldest vineyards in the world. Like so that's like it goes back to Georgia.
Stuff.
Very cool. So
her film's called Our Blood Is Wine.
Okay. Our Blood Is Wine. That'll be in the show notes, everybody.
There you go.
Yeah, see, you just hooked your sister up. So that's really cool. They get the whole family going. So you're also part of a dynamic duo.
Oh, she's definitely the better half.
Oh, good answer.
There's no.
I know it's true. But I have to joke, man. That's what I do. No, good answer. It's gonna hang in perpetuity.
Yeah, whether it's a romantic love partnership partner or any person in your life, surrounding yourself with people who make you better is like the only way forward. The only way to get better. And getting to know Victoria and marrying her is like I won the lotto.
Well, see, Robert Boris says he won the lotto. So how'd you meet Victoria? I want to hear the story. How'd you meet Victoria?
She was working at Maria, and I had just moved to New York for Kermit, and we got to know each other through just like restaurant acquaintances. I think she came to Jack Mason, Baby Jack. Do you know him?
Mm-mm.
He's living in Texas now, but he was the wine director for Marta.
Okay.
And he had just gotten his Master Sommelier degree, and so they were having a party at Marta. Any excuse for Marta pizza and good wine, I will be there. So I was there. Victoria was there. We kind of like, that was the first time we like met and talked. She famously like approached me and said, "Hi, I'm Victoria." And apparently I said, "I know." And like
smooth, man.
Yeah, real classy. So she still talked to me after that, apparently, and she left Maria and then got a job at a little restaurant in the West Village called Piora, and I got to know her better when she was there. We started courting, and our first date was me cooking her dinner.
I love I said courting. What a gentleman. Yeah, see, a producer's swooning in the corner. She's like, I want to be courted. She loves her husband.
She's been courted. Fantastic.
Okay, so you courted, and you did the smooth move. Come over to my place. I'll cook for you.
Well, it started as we were both seeing other people when we first met, and then I left a relationship, and I was single for a little bit, and sent her a message saying, "Hey, let's do dinner sometime." And she said, "Well, I'm seeing someone." I said, "No, it's fine. Like like a work thing. Let's go to lunch. I'll take you to lunch. I'm selling wine. You're buying wine. It's strictly business." So
he did the lunch thing. It takes the pressure off.
We did the lunch thing first, and then later it was like, you should come over for dinner. And she said, "I'm still seeing someone." And I said, no, like a dinner. Bring him, bring your guy, and I'll bring, I don't know, Dustin Wilson or somebody that's a mutual friend. And the day before she messaged me and said, "Just wanted to let you know, I broke up with him. It's just going to be me coming." And I said, "Well, honestly, I've been traveling and I haven't invited anybody, so it'll just be the two of us." And so that was it.
I'd have been like, I got food for 4. You're killing me. Nah.
It worked out.
It did work out.
We made Zuni Cafe chicken.
Okay.
We drank a bottle of Arnaud Ant Bourgogne Blanc, and then we drank a magnum of Collier Rouge, which is our favorite wine, together.
I know. There's 3 bottles in now.
Yeah. And then we drank Maxime Magnon after that. So it was a big night. But we stayed up reading poetry and painting until 3 a.m.
Oh my God. Yeah. He's taken, ladies. Not that any girls listen to this podcast. Women, rather. But guys, all you single guys out there,
all you single guys, message Vino Jeff Taylor. He will show you everything he knows about how to court women. His Instagram handle will be in the show notes.
Yeah, very nice. I'm gonna have to start following this dude.
Yep.
And so then you guys court, and then your wife is she's a badass, like you said. So it's all about the book.
Yeah, she'd always written articles.
And pour yourself some wine. You're a little parched. Let's pour some vinos.
The producer cannot produce without the vin jaune.
No,
I think we know that.
Yes. So she's a great writer. Thank you, sir.
She had written lots of articles, and she'd been on wine trips for her job, and she had done articles for a number of different publications, and just a hustler. I mean, if anyone wants to know the full story, it's called Wine Girl. Her most recent book is about her whole trials and tribulations of getting into the business as a 12-year-old, and being a woman in a man's industry. But she was writing, and she had written an article about rosé, and this is kind of as rosé is like becoming a real big thing. And a publisher approached her and said, "Hey, would you write a book on rosé?" And she said, "Well, gosh, I've never written a book, but sure, I could do it." And
good answer.
So
goes back to your favorite word when I asked you, like, yes.
Yes, we do. We can. So she wrote it, and then she contracted. They said, "Do you know anyone who's an illustrator?" And she said, "Yeah, my husband." And I hadn't illustrated anything for years. So I have a college art degree, which qualified me to wait tables. So we had a couple months to do it, and she was done way before the deadline, and then she was hounding me to do the drawings until the night before it was due.
I like your style.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I would have rolled on that.
It worked out, yeah.
And, so what's been going on with you since COVID hit, man?
Wow. Yeah. What a year.
Yeah.
I was traveling 75% of the time all over the country, and trips to Europe, of course, and now, Zoom tastings last year, and going crazy in an apartment, trying to figure out ways to stay motivated and stay interested, and, stay happy and not beat yourself up, and not drink too much, find that balance and stay healthy. But yeah, it was a challenge. But I think we did it. I think we had a pretty strong year with Kermit. And in the meantime, I've now, of course, left Kermit, and it's the wild blue yonder. So a lot of cooking at home, which has been nice. But of course, we miss restaurants. My Cote has still been open. Victoria's been doing food to go and takeaway and outdoor dining and all of that. And it's weird. She's been taking lots of notes. She's probably going to do a book on like restaurants during a pandemic.
That's a good book.
There's a lot of crazy shit that
I'm
happens.
sure. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, like, what prompted the move? Was it just time to leave Kermit Lynch?
Yeah, it was time to leave Kermit Lynch, and maybe it was past due time. I don't mean to be rude saying that. I think Kermit's amazing, and of course, it's like, it's the number one French importer in America. It still is, but I think the company's changed, and it was, I think it was time to be challenged, and so now I'm waking up out of bed every morning a little scared, and I think being a little scared is a good thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what's really your focus? What's next? I mean, so you have Railsback Frères. Is that scaling that up, or what's in the pipeline for you?
Yeah. Well, I think the thing I'm the most excited about is the least financially viable, which is Counoise. That'll be in the show notes because no one knows how to pronounce it or what it is.
I love a good Counoise.
We found this fucking Counoise that is unbelievable. It's Beaucastel cuttings that Tablas Creek brought over. They're being grown in this limestone amphitheater vineyard in the southern part of Los Olivos. And we didn't know what to do with it. We just, let's try a Counoise or whatever. We can blend it into the wine or something. So I wrote Daniel Brunier from View Telegraph, and I wrote Daniel Ravier from Tempier and asked them both, Counoise, what do I do with it? And they both said, I don't know. We don't have it. But Daniel Brunier asked Beaucastel and Daniel Ravier asked Chateau Prado. And they both got back to us and said, yeah, you should do it whole cluster. And the guys at Beaucastel say Counoise is the grape of the future. This is for global warming. This is the grape that's adding natural acidity, and it's super fresh and bright. So we did this whole cluster Counoise in 2020. We just tasted the barrel sample of it. And it is like it's like almost like aromas of Rayos, like super floral, really bright. Like I'm not saying it's as good as Rayos. The vines are young, but it's like it's exciting. It's super exciting.
Exactly.
We're gonna make zero money off of it, and then we're also gonna have another project of Cabernet Sauvignon, which is slightly more potential for making money.
So it's so funny because I actually had the opportunity when I was in Santa Barbara, when I was still in the officially in the wine business. Like in 2000 or 2001, went to Tablas Creek, which was still relatively young then. And Robert Haas was there, and we did a lunch, and they made a cassoulet. But they had a Counoise. They just had a straight Counoise. It was like blew my mind. So it was just from the barrel. And I've heard from other winemakers in Paso Robles the same thing. Like Counoise might end up being, like you said, it's potential. Here in the New World, I mean, I'm sure it's great and all, but potentially in the New World for it is people who are geeky about wine are really into it. You know what I mean?
Going back to trusting what's in the glass, being excited about that. Of course, it's not going to be as easy to sell as Cabernet Sauvignon, but when you put your nose in a glass and you like something, you've got to go with your heart. Yeah,
a buddy of mine made a Counoise rosé out of Paso, and it's stunning. It reminds me of something you get from I know they don't use it, but it's the body and the texture reminds me of a Bandol rosé. I mean, it's like killer stuff. So Cabernet Sauvignon, where is that from? Is that coming out of the valley as well?
Santa Ynez, yeah. Okay. Yeah. We found a couple of vineyards. For the last 2 years, we've made a Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cab Franc, private label for a restaurant, and it was great. We were surprised at how good it was. We were surprised at the cost of the fruit for the quality. And then we'd sort of been planning all last year to do a Cabernet Sauvignon as kind of a little. It's not going to be called Railsback Frères because we want Railsback Frères to really be about Provence, Corsica, Northern Rhone, inspired by the south of France. And so this will be called something else. I don't think we've announced it officially, but we can do it today on the podcast. It's going to be called Roman Ceremony. And it's going to be Cabernet Sauvignon, under $30 from Santa Ynez. We're super stoked on where it's coming from and the quality of the fruit. It'll be released later this fall.
Nice. So I love this podcast. Kicks ass. No, it's very cool. I can't wait to try that, man. When I was living in Santa Barbara, you had Fred Brander was doing Bordeaux varietal stuff, but a lot of stuff was really green and vegetal. So I think it's kind of worked. The vines are older now, and they're developing more primary flavors, but you're still going to get that nice herbaceousness and that balance. So I'm excited to see what you guys produce out of Cabernet Sauvignon from Santa Barbara, which, like you said, is known for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and well, when you live there, I'm like, I went there for the Rhone stuff, man. I went there for the Grenache, the Syrah, the Buenasitos, all the Pinots too. But it's exciting to see the stuff you're playing with. I did a post. I love Cal Italy, so I can't wait to try that bottle of Vermentino you gave me. I love anything that's Italian grown in California.
That's Cal Corse, by the way.
Yeah?
Not Cal Italy, Cal Corse.
Cal Corse? Yeah.
Okay, it's Corsican.
Corsican. Right. Yeah, Cal Corse.
Cal Corse. It's a new.
I stand correct. Yeah, no, it's good. Listen, I come on here to learn myself, man. I don't know shit about wine.
We just made it up.
I know. I love that. That was beautiful. That's like, well, you're on the game. So yeah, I can't wait to try my first Cal Corse. Damn. We're just first today on the BWG experience. So like everything you've done, amazing. Is there ever a time when you were just like thought about walking away from the wine business and say, I'm gonna go illustrate. I'm gonna go get on backstage and apply for some acting gigs. Was there ever a time you thought about walking away?
I don't know. It's really hard. You feel there's certainly, I think I'm tempted to like go try something else just to push myself. But at the same time, like it becomes a part of your life. And so, even if I got a job as a shoemaker or a shirt maker, by the way, I am starting a project to do Western shirts with a friend of mine in Milan, but that's a different podcast. But no, I think
Lyle Railsback, true Renaissance man. I'm digging it.
I think that the clothing thing has become really interesting to me, and it's not about fashion. It's the opposite of that. But it's when you follow these like growers who are artisans making beverages or cheese or whatever. It's the same as like a tailor, a shirt maker. These guys who are doing something by hand. We're not talking fast fashion.
We're
from
talking
China.
craftsmen.
We're talking somewhat like a suit that takes 70 hours of handwork.
Yeah.
Shoes that take 6 months to be completed. Like this kind of thing. It's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
No, that's cool. I'm digging your style. I got to get these up on YouTube, but we'll send the clips. But it came in. He's got the blazer. He's got the striped shirt. He's rocking the shit, man.
You don't have to wear pants during COVID, though. So I was told you'd said we didn't have to wear pants.
You didn't have to. Yeah, it's all fine.
No pants.
No pants. It's all good.
It's all Zoom.
But yeah, no. I like what you said. Like when first time I went to Italy, and I was down in Piano di Sorrento, and I was just like, "There's no way I'm not coming to Italy and not getting a pair of handmade Italian shoes and a handmade Italian suit." You know what I mean?
Strong,
like you got to do it, right? Yeah. So that's cool. Wow, that's so interesting, man. I love everything you're up to. So like, I heard you say earlier, it was time to leave. Maybe you stayed too long, but there's that good adrenaline inside you. So it just sounds like despite it all, despite 2020, despite the Zoom tastings, despite having to be like, oh my God, okay, nope. We're at 2 bottles. That's it. We're not, despite everything we've had to fight through this year, you seem to be in a good place, and you got a lot of things going on. So like, oh man, listen, Lyle, thanks for coming on the show, man. Like, thanks so much for being here. Can you tell people where they can find you and how they can be a part of what you're doing?
Cool. Thanks, man. Yeah, our website is railsbackfrère.com. Our Instagram is railsbackfrère. My Instagram personal account is just Lyle Railsback. And the Western bespoke shirt company coming soon is called Spaghetti Western. So it's really inspired.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, it's inspired by like 70s Hollywood. So like
Clint
the
Eastwood.
big collars, Robert Evans, this kind of thing. It'll be fun.
I'm going to have to rock one of those.
I'd love to make you one.
Man, I would love to make you one. I actually believe it, when I'm not podcasting, well, I only get dressed because my wife. My mom used to dress me, and like I remember when I moved back from California, I was a California dude. I had like flip flops, and like I had my Hawaiian shirt. Like that was like you put on khakis and Hawaiian shirt. That's dressed up in Santa Barbara. So I had adopted that culture. I remember we went on our first date. I didn't have any clothes. I had to go fucking buy some clothes, man. And she's continued to dress me. So yeah, I would love to. I'd love to wear one of your shirts. Man,
Dude, I'll measure you next week and let's get you a shirt made.
Oh
I'd
my
love
God,
to do it.
that's supersonic.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my guest today, Lyle the Jura is 14% alcohol.
It's the cheese. I told you can't have cheese.
I was peeping. I'm like, I'm a little sticky.
That's
but it's so worth it. It's so worth this cheese is the combination. You guys feel free to bring food on if somebody wants to bring
salmon Kalubiak, anything simple. Anything simple.
Yeah, anybody want to bring some Krug and some Beluga, whatever you want to bring, some toast points. I'm down. It's all good. Listen, everybody, thank you so much to my guest today, Lyle Railsback. You know where you can find him. Look in the show notes. Until the next time, cheers to the Mavericks, philosophers, deep thinkers. You hit all those points. And I say peace to all the wine drinkers. It's your boy, MJ. Take care.
Wow.
Thank you, guys. That was
so fun.
You make it really easy, dude.
Thank you.
You're very good at what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So fun.
it's good.
Get that.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it was
It's
great.
like it's hard to feel. It's like
No,
it's like
great.
a lot
I tell
of
people that we're in it. It was great. It was great. It was awesome. It was supersonic, man. Right. We book extra time, but the conversation was we hit so much. It's going to be probably about 70, 80 minutes, which is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
We're long form. We don't, but it was awesome. Like,
yeah. Cool. I think that's a good amount of time. I don't know, Levy's a friend of mine, but honestly, like, who has 3 hours to like,
and I listen to Levy. Levy's good.
He's very good at what he does, but
it's been interesting because people, I majored in communications, blah blah blah. I always wanted to be a talk show host, and I want to have my own late night show. And this has been a blast because.
What was the impetus for you?
What was the impetus? The reality. Yeah, exactly. Well, that is